But I'm going to move to really the service side of it so that we don't, we get a little more focused. And when you look at the service side of it, I'm going to be talking about contact centers. One of the biggest problems today with contact centers is they drain cost. They are the biggest headaches for most organizations because they basically drain cost. And they really spend so much time and money on contact center to really help customers, serve customers. But the fact still remains, if you see most of these contact centers, it's an extremely frustrating metric. Because customers don't just want satisfaction today. They want experience. And customer experience is really what people are looking for today, primarily because they are today charged and enabled to do a lot of things. So if you really look at what is happening in the ecosystem today, you're basically seeing that most organizations have their first line of service resolution through the basic phone calls or maybe emails. Okay? And that's their first line of resolution. But look at the facts here. Customers do call all these channels only because they are not satisfied for some reason, or they want a clarification, or they are basically trying to maybe use a technology or a product that they bought and they're not able to really use it. So you're really seeing that most of these calls are basically calls that are focused on a problem, a need, okay, or a dissatisfaction. That's the first element of it. The second element of it is literally 1%, even less than 1% of the millennials today would ever want to go and talk about their problem through a phone call. They will just use an SMS, they will use different forms of networking to really find the problem, but they would really be very hesitant to really call a contact center and say, I have a problem today. Okay? And it's really true. It's gone beyond the millennial demographic. If you ask me, I hate to take a phone call and wait for these obnoxious messages saying, do you want this, do you do this, press this, press this, press this, and by the time you're really there, you're really frustrated. So it's very different. So you're beginning to see a huge sea of change of how people want to be serviced. And that's really primarily because of the mobile power that's allowed people to empower themselves, communicate themselves, create communities, and create voices of opinions, voices of satisfaction, and voices of dissatisfaction. It's really very important to understand this. If you then look at a typical call center, I'm going to give you two really interesting examples. One of the most important is that Booz basically did a study with financial institutions and said 50 to 60% of inbound calls within financial services are driven by banks' own errors. Very interesting statement, actually, but it is suddenly, when you look at it from that context, it makes a lot of sense. We did a study. We took a call center of a financial company, and it had 1 billion calls per month. 1 billion calls per month. And we dissected the calls. You can see those calls there. These calls were broken into percentages. And what we found is 70% of the calls were related to inquiries and payments. The inquiries were really, what's my balance? Which is the nearest branch? Are you working today? These are the kind of calls that came up there. And then the payments were really related to, I want to transfer some money from here to there. Is this possible? How do I do it? All these very mundane inquiry kind of stuff. 70% of the calls in a big institution, a big financial institution. The balance, 20% of the calls were really focused on card maintenance kind of problems. I lost my card I can't find it, can you disable it, stolen cards, etc. Can you please delete this account? I have a sponsored card, I want that deleted, and also related to late fees, those kind of stuff. So that was the 20%. The balance 10% was really talking about, disputes, I don't think I made this charge, and all kinds of stuff. Where can I use my rewards for this particular thing, and how do I get to encash my rewards, and all those, but they were about 10% of the calls. So when you look at these calls, what do you see? You're seeing 70% of the calls can easily be automated and can easily be used, okay, with platforms like Appian to really be addressed in a much better manner, and I'll talk about that as we go forward. Second,